not tight. So if he's tight, he's like this. Like that's what I mean by being all tight and balled up. Just be in a nice, comfortable position, like about right here. If I was to ask Jesse to pull his hands out further, he would be even worse position. Like if I sit on him right now, he would start feeling the pressure. So I want him like this for the drill. And then we're gonna run a spiral, okay, on both sides. So I'm gonna put my chest up here on him. I'm off my knees. Don't sprawl straight. Like when you sprawl straight, you're heavy, but you activate your core a lot. And we need our core activated, but we don't want to be so activated that we're getting exhausted doing this movement. So I want him to carry my weight. I don't want to get tired in the process. I want him to get tired. And I want to be mobile. When you guys have like sprawl legs like this, it looks good to some people. Like they're like, yeah, it looks like you're really sprawled. Like if he grabbed my legs, he wouldn't be able to get anything, you know, you can't pull my leg in. But the problem with this position is you're not mobile. So if I was to like circle, I'm really working my core. So by bringing your leg, contrastly, if I bring my legs in, I can really flow around the guy. The problem is I'm not heavy. So we have to understand though that there's an in-between, especially right now. We're not out front where he could grab our legs, we're under the arms. One hand's gonna be under his arm. Many ways you can do it, okay? People will do this with a claw, as we practiced already. People will do this with a half. People will grab the shoulder. People will just force pressure out, which is what I want you guys to do. So we're gonna start with this one. Just put your hand, the back of your hand, under his armpit, and I'm gonna take the pressure this direction, like I'm trying to make his elbow rotate out. I'm not low. It would seem that I would get higher leverage out here, but the problem is if he lifts the hand, my hand could slip very easily. So I don't wanna force like that. Go ahead and slip it again. So I wanna be here. So if he lifts his arm, I'm still in position, okay? And the ultimate goal of this hand is to get that wrist, okay? My goal is to get that wrist. So he's stiff right now, he's pretty strong, so I have to apply some force. The other side, we're gonna have added pressure. Karate chop, some people grab it like this. You long, skinny guys will grip like this on the flipper or thigh pry. Two names for the same thing. Sometimes I say thigh pry, sometimes I say flipper. Flipper because your hand is like a flipper. Your fingers come together, you go here. The karate chop style I like a lot. Sometimes I use a grip because I don't want to lose my grip. Other times, especially if you're short-armed, you can just make a fist or a karate chop and just kind of chop in there, and that puts pressure on him. When you're off your knees, you're here, and now I'm gonna walk out towards the front. When I run out towards the front, it's important that you don't get ahead of yourself. I can't put the cart before the horse. That means I can't get my cart going over here, my horses are back there, okay? I've gotta make sure my horses are working, which are the arms. I'm keeping this kind of tight, even the slight resistance. I'm keeping this here, and now everything works together and it helps you break your opponent down. That's the spiral ride. So you're doing a spiral motion of circling with your legs, and you're kind of using these two opposing forces with an eventual goal of your left hand that's open and ready to snatch that wrist. And when do you snatch the wrist? The moment he drops to an elbow. The moment he drops to an elbow, you capture that wrist with your left hand. Then once you do it, you continue the spiral, you don't stop. So I'm gonna go this way, break him to an elbow, grab his wrist, roll the wrist, and then continue the spiral. Just keep the butt up just for a second. Keep the spiral and try to pull his butt to here. Once I pull, you see now I've got a nice grip, little wrench right here on that flipper. I pull the hip there, my weight stays on him, and my head's so close that his elbow can't hit me, okay? You don't wanna have your head up here and take a back fist or an elbow, that would be nasty. Keep your head down, and then now, as he tries to go ahead and elbow me a little bit, see, I got pressure on him so it doesn't hurt me, and then if his hips try to come back, I'm pulling his hip, keeping it here. You can then step your leg around, putting a hook in, and we're in good position, okay? We can get to what we used to call this position. We used to call it, our school, we called it the Hordeski. So Hordeski got hit by Ryan Schultz.
You're there with it. Out that side.
Uh-oh. Reverse figure four.
That arm out of there.
Oh, no defense.
Hordeski's in trouble.
This will be over. This is over.
Schultz is putting it away. Schultz, it's over.
This is long before people called it the Dagestani handcuff. I kind of cringe every time I hear that phrase because it's always been used in MMA. Brock Lesnar used it against Frank Mir.
Frank is getting beat up here. He's taking some big shots and his face is splattering blood all over his shoulder. Did the power shots of Brock Lesnar. He's got so much power in those fists, Mike. Frank's in big trouble.
Guys, and long before Brock Lesnar, I mean, all it is a one-on-one on the wrist. If you want to call it Dagestani handcuff, that's fine. Jesse calls it the 661.
661.
So we're here.
AB's finest.
Okay, Hordeski back in the IFL got beat pretty bad. He was a great fighter, but he got beat pretty bad by Ryan Schultz, and we actually named it after the guy who got beat up because it was just one way we could always remember it. But anyway, that's the story. You know, when you're here, you can throw shots. It's very hard for the guy to block them. If you go to the body, he blocks the body. You go to the head, you can uppercut him underneath here to his jaw. It's just a really nasty position because every time, if you notice the leg, if he goes to his belly, he's stuck, he can't. And if he rolls back into me, the wrist is stopping him from rolling back into me. And if you get a guy tired enough and he can't get up, he's gonna be in trouble, okay? Obviously, if you get a guy in the first round, guy's fresh, it's probably not gonna settle him down. But if you get a guy late in the fight like this, you know, you've taken some wind out of his sails, he's gonna be in trouble. So right here, boom, boom. Okay, so how did we get to that position? We did a spiral. One more time. Inner thigh, karate chop or flipper grip, doesn't matter. You can play with both, I don't care. Up in the armpit right here, going towards the arm with an open hand, okay? I start my circle. As I'm doing that, drops him to an elbow. I grab the wrist, roll the wrist, continue, and break him down. If he just turns belly down, like in this position, that's fine. Like if I just have hips on him, belly down, that's fine. I'll just stay like this. I can bring my knee close, set my hook, and just be here, okay? Again, you can still hit people from here. You can still take their back. Anytime we want, if we want to take the back, we can take the back and then look for our more traditional jiu-jitsu finishes, okay? So I want you guys to spiral right. If you're advanced enough, you create a drill and you do this. I'm gonna go a little quicker and just break them down. Okay, broke them down, maybe I go here. Okay, cool. I don't even need to go there for the drill. He builds up. You notice if I went from here, when I circle around, my hands just switch. Boom. And now I spiral ride this direction. Grab his wrist, pull it in, good heavy pressure. Guy tries to get up a little bit. You feel him, you know, you've got some good weight on him. Then I let him build up. He fights up. Break him down. He builds up. Notice every time I do that, I stay on my toes. So I am using my core. But like I said earlier, I'm not like this. Okay, I'm more like this. Okay, which actually allows you to push with your feet. Okay, you don't want to be straight-legged. A straight leg can't push. Okay, it can brace. A straight leg can post, but it can't push. I can't go that way anymore. I need to bend so I can go. Bend so you can go. You got to recock the gun, fire that bullet. All right, let's get a partner. Let's run that spiral drill. All right, 1, 2, 3. Oh, okay, guys. This is wrestling, but I'm teaching it more in a MMA, fighting, self-defense context. This stuff is nothing magical. To people who don't wrestle, it's very magical because they haven't seen it. It's great control. It's the wrestling basics that you need to break an opponent down. Quick story. I learned this a long time ago from my wrestling coach. When I first started coaching, I always wanted to teach taking someone down and then finishing them. Because isn't it beautiful when you see, whether it be jiu-jitsu, wrestling, doesn't matter, boxing, kickboxing, MMA, when you see a fight or any kind of competition and you see an opponent get taken down, out-positioned, and finished, it's a beautiful thing. So we strive for that. We strive for the 30-second win. Because the 30-second win is what every fighter or competitor dreams of. That's how we want to finish our opponents. We want to get in there, get out. Easy, we don't get hurt or anything. But when we focus on fighting or competition and we think that way, we think that everything is gonna be a quick finish. We've practiced it. We do a takedown, we get a guard pass, we get the mount, and then we go into our triangle or our arm bar, and then we finish and we win and we celebrate. It's not always gonna be that way. So it's actually a bad way to think of things. I learned this from my coach. I was a young coach, and I was teaching my guys to take people down and then put them on their back and pin them. And what I was neglecting at the time was the idea that if you're in a tough match, if your opponent's at the same level as you, or maybe slightly better, and you get that first takedown, or you get that first score, if you go for the kill, most of the time you're gonna fail, the majority of the time. It's probably not gonna work. Your opponent's fresh, and this is not an idea to stall. But what it is, it's another thing. It's called riding in wrestling. Ride the opponent is an actual thing. They give a minute of it in college, or excuse me, a point for a minute of it in college wrestling. If you ride an opponent, they actually give you a point at the end of the match for staying on top. The riding aspect of wrestling is what can really drain your opponent. If your opponent has to get away, which in wrestling they have to, in MMA, they have to. If they don't get away, they gotta wait for the next round to be back on their feet. They're gonna be exhausted. They have a guy lay on top of them for 3-4 minutes and beat on them, let alone all the other stuff that can happen during that time. So what I'm getting at is, if you learn to take them down and ride the opponent, and you're in it for the long haul, you're not always trying to kill, which I love so much, but if we just take a different approach and we go, we're gonna take the wind out of their sails. We're gonna just wear them out a little bit. By the second and the third round, they are worn out, and then all of a sudden the magical finish that you were looking for presents itself. They're now ready. They're cooked and they're ready to be eaten, okay? So that's something that I really wanna drive home. And this is the spiral ride drill, which is great for that. Every time your opponent gets up, you're floating around them, spiral ride, just breaking them down. They build up, you break them down. They build up, you break them down. You do that several times, and they're gonna start feeling not only mentally hopeless, but physically they're gonna get drained, and then the finish will present itself for you. All right, hope you enjoyed this lesson. Like, share, subscribe, comment down below, and I'll see you guys next time with more great stuff.